Good evening, everyone. We are glad you could join us for today's session on public policy analysis. Let me begin by introducing our speaker for today, Dr. S.P. Sharma. With over 27 years of experience in economic research and public advocacy, Dr. Sharma brings his expertise in macroeconomics, trade, industry, and financial markets. He holds an MPhil in industrial economics and a PhD in international business from Punjab University, Chandigarh. Dr. Sharma has held key roles across the Government of India and Punjab, PwC, Tata Capital, and PhD CCI, where he served as Chief Economist and Deputy Secretary General. He is currently Managing Director and Chief Economist at Neo Economists. Dr. Sharma has authored over 250 research reports and public papers. A frequent speaker at national and international forums, he is a trusted voice in media and a regular panelist on All India Radio's Market Mantra. He also advises leading academic institutions and continues to shape economic discourse across industry and academia. Before we start today's session, I request that our learners post their questions in the Q&A tab. We will try to address as many as possible if the time permits. At the end of this session, we will display three polls on your screens and request that you actively participate in these polls to help us understand your grasp of what was covered in this webinar. Don't forget that the correct answers will be displayed once the polls have been answered. With that in mind, please join me in welcoming Dr. S.P. Sharma. Here's a warm welcome to you, Dr. Sharma. We're glad to have you present at the Industry Interaction webinar. Over to you for the main session.
Thank you, ma'am, and very good evening to all of you, all the delegates participating Manipal Online. And I congratulate the team Manipal Online for organizing such a wonderful discussion on the public policy analysis, public policy environment, and how to assess the public policies in today's environment. So I have divided my PPT in four categories, four sections. Firstly, I'll discuss the economic environment in the national and international arenas. Thereafter, public policy analysis, then some case studies, and the public policy going forward. So these will be the four steps for my presentation. I am going to present before you. So I hope you are able to see my presentation.
Yes, sir, it's visible.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, firstly, we have to know about the global economic environment when we are going to assess some public policy in the public domain. Firstly, we have to know about the national and international economic environment, how the things are happening at the national level or at the global level. So I am starting from Lehman crisis of 2008, when whole world was hit by the financial crisis, and the crisis spread through various channels to all the economies in the global economic system, through financial channels and the real estate channels. The whole economies were impacted by significant deceleration in their respective GDPs. And before US recovered from that financial crisis from where it originated, the EU was in quagmire of severe debt crisis, and all the economies were in the crisis and facing so many worsening debt to GDP ratios. And before EU recovered from that crisis, then the crisis spread in Japan, and Japan was in sluggish mode, impacted by the natural calamities and other factors. Japan's economy was slowing down significantly. And thereafter, China was in slowdown in 2015, 2016, 2017. And before China recovered, US-China war, trade war occurred in 2018 and 2019, and that also impacted the whole trajectory of the world economy. And world economy was impacted by 0.8% of GDP. That becomes at around 1 trillion of the total GDP. And the GDP was at around $87 trillion at that time. So, so that impacted the whole trajectory of the exports and the GDP numbers. And before that, US-China trade war settled. India was in the severe slowdown of the structural or the cyclical problems, and there were many discussions to identify the mood of the slowdown, whether this is because of the structural reforms or the cyclical reforms. And before we discussed uh, uh, and reached at some conclusion, we were hit by the coronavirus in 2020, and that was the health emergency, and whole world was again impacted by the pandemic crisis. And before we recovered from that pandemic, the geopolitical developments happened, and that separated from now US from Russia, Ukraine to Israel and Iran, Israel and Gaza, Israel and Lebanon. So all these things are happening in the world economy during the last 16, 17 years. And the effect of all these developments is on the world economic growth rate that we achieved 6.6% in 2021. That too on the basis of low base effect. And again, that has started decelerating in 2022. The growth rate was 3.6%, thereafter 3.5%, and then 3% now, 2.8% is anticipated for 2025. So world economy is in severe uh, uh, slowdown in the recent years because of the geopolitical crisis, and the whole crisis started from the Lehman crisis. Thereafter, a slowdown in US, then Europe, then Japan, then China, then India, and then coronavirus. Now the geopolitical developments are hitting the trajectory of the world economy. So, in this scenario, how the Indian economy is behaving? What is the scenario of the Indian economy? Indian economy is now very resilient, and we have observed that in the post-COVID years, India's GDP is growing in a solid trajectory. We grew at 9.7% in 21-22, thereafter 7.6% in 22-23, 9.2% 23-24, then 6.5% in 24-25. And now we are $4 trillion economy in the world economic system and fourth largest economy in the world economic system. So our global integration is also increasing each day. And the meaning of global integration is the current receipts and current payments, capital receipts and capital payments. When these are increasing at a significant more, then your global integration becomes more and more strong. So now these four things are more than 100% of India GDP. So our global integratedness is very high at this juncture. And our aspiration is that we will become $100 billion FDI destination in 2025, like 25, 26 financial year. But we have already achieved $81 billion last year in 24, 25. So we are anticipating that there will be a growth of FDI in the current year also and the next year also. As I mentioned that we are the fourth largest economy and we will be the fifth $5 trillion economy by 2027, and thereafter third largest economy in 2028. And we have a target of 2 trillion merchandise and services exports by 2030, of which 1 trillion will come from the merchandise and 1 trillion will come from the services exports. And we have aspirations that we will become a developed economy by 2047 at our 100 years of independence and net zero by 2070. So the long-term trajectory of Indian economy remains very dynamic, and we were only three times in the negative trajectory during the last, I believe, 55 years, starting from 70, 71, and that the overall scenario remains very resilient, very promising for the global investors. And if we talk about the reforms we have undertaken so far, firstly, the first chunk of reforms from the Green Revolution to liberalization, privatization, and globalization, then the FTAs. We started our reforms from 1960 to 70s from the Green Revolution. Then we started LPG model in 1991. That is the globalization, privatization, and liberalization model. And thereafter, we started signing of the free trade agreements in 2000. Firstly, we started the free trade agreement with Sri Lanka in 2000. Thereafter, there are so many free trade agreements, and by 2010 or 11, we had signed FTAs, 13 FTAs, of which six were PTAs. And in the recent years, starting from 2014, there is plethora of reforms starting from the Make in India, then ease of doing business, Startup India, Stand Up India. There are then national logistics policy, then reforms for the Atmanirbhar Bharat, then free trade, foreign trade policy, and then government focused on Gyan. Uh, Gyan means Garib, Yuva, Annadata, and Nari. These were the focused areas during the last two budgets, and the government has provided so many reforms for the development of infrastructure and various reforms for the downtrodden. With the effect of all these reforms, now we are moving ahead to become the third largest economy and a developed economy by 2047. And so far, we have 14 FTAs and 6 PTAs in our kitty. Recently, we have signed free trade agreements with Australia, UAE, and more recently with the UK. And bilateral trade agreement is on cards with the US, and we are also moving ahead to sign free trade agreement with European Union. So how this environment is providing the outcomes as we started reforms from 1960s, 70s, then the 1991, then 2014, the plethora of reforms. Then the numbers, what the numbers say on the backdrop of all these reforms. So I would like to mention five major numbers which are very prominent, like the investments and the growth of the economy and our external sector and our resilience in our reserves. Firstly, GDP. Our GDP was $270 billion in 1991, and now we have $4.1 trillion. So tremendous increase in our GDP from $270 billion in 1991 to more than $4,000 billion in 2025 in the 35 years. The tremendous increase we have observed with the back of reforms time to time. And exports. Our exports were less than $20 billion in 1991. So now, last year, in the last financial year, we have this figure at 820 billion, $24 billion. So tremendous increase in our exports from the from 1991 to 2025, from less than 20 billion to more than 824 billion in the last financial year. And forex reserves. Our forex reserves were only $2 billion in 1991. Now we have around $700 billion chunk of the forex reserves in our kitty. So that is providing a great resilience to our economy, that we have a great margin for our imports, and that covers more than 1 year of our imports uh, in the years of crisis, or if something happens at the global level, then we have a great support from our forex reserves. Sensex, that is also very important, that indicates the investment trajectory of the economy. Our Sensex was only 999 on 1st January 1991. Now we have 83,790, and we have achieved 87,000 also in the recent past. So all the five parameters. And FDI was not there in 1991. Now we have cumulative FDIs of USD 1 trillion, more than 1 trillion. So that the great chunk of FDI is also there. $1,000 billion FDI we have during the last 30, I believe, 25 years, starting from 2000. So on the back of all these reforms, like the public policy, how the public policies are assessed, and what is the criteria to know about the public policies on the backdrop of such developments, like starting from the global economy, then the resilience of Indian economy. As Indian economic environment is very dynamic. As you must have observed that we started our journey from very slow growth rate of 1.5% or 2% or 2.5%. We were very slow in 1950s and 1960s and even in 1970s. Thereafter, we were steady after the reforms of 1991. We were growing at 4% or 5%. Then we started growing at 6% in 2000. And after the slow to steady, then we achieved the trajectory of the fast moving economy. Now we are the fastest moving economy in the global economic system, and our growth rate is fastest in the uh, top economies, top 10 economies, not only the top 10 economies, but in the G20 economies also, and in the BRICS economies also. Our growth rate is high as compared with even our competitors like China. In the next 5 6 years, China's growth rate is anticipated at around 4.1%, and we will grow more than 6.5% according to the IMF estimates provided in the recent months. Public policy environment, as I mentioned, depends on the environment of the global economy and environment of the domestic economy, and that also is through a structured analysis. That is not only the on the basis of the intuitions or the patterns of the trade-offs, that if this happens, that will certainly happen, but that is not the case. So we have to assess the public policy environment on the basis of set patterns, set equations, or the set methods, set statistical tools. So, uh, uh, in introduction, I would like to mention firstly the problem identification. Firstly, you have to identify the problem which you are going to discuss, and you are going to provide some policy to support that particular problem. So policy exploration depends on your identification of the problem. Then you should focus on the consequence evaluation. What is going to happen after the adoption of such kind of policy support to a particular problem? Then the solutions come and recommendations come. For an example, if government plans to develop some SEZ, then you need a large chunk of land. So firstly, you have to uh, uh, analyze that how this large acquisition of large chunk of land is going to impact the trajectory of the households or the farmers, how they will be able to support their livelihood without their land or without their houses, if they are developing such kind of large SEZ uh, uh, their space. So we have to analyze the consequences also. Then you have to find out the solutions. That how what is the solution if we are going to develop such kind of a big SEZ at some particular place? Then what should be the solution to acquire the land from the farmers and from the people and from the households? So you have to provide solutions to some livelihood for them, some promises for them, for the employment promises or the other promises that we will support after the acquisition of such kind of large chunk of land. Then comes the solutions, and then they recommend to the government that this should be the criteria for the development of such kind of large SEZ at that particular place. So without the structured framework, if we are not focusing on the policy decisions to be undertaken, then that may be reactive, and people may come forward with their reaction, and there will be a lot of wastage of money and ineffectiveness of the program, and that policies may be counterproductive and harm the whole uh, uh, society. So we have to be very cautious for formulating the public policies, and to implement at the ground level. There should be a set pattern and proper analysis of all such things. and applying data and research to evaluate policies. How to assess such kind of policies? What should be the evaluation criteria? That depends on the nature of the policies. And first, if you are going to develop some message ad or some road, or then or some you are providing some incentive to set category of the segment of economy, then your analysis and your approach towards that analysis should be very different from the common approaches. And why we evaluate the policy? Because if we have provided some policy and you are going to evaluate the policy, then firstly you should know about the effectiveness, that how this policy is going to become effective, and how, if you have provided the policy, how, what is the effectiveness of that particular policy. Like if the government develops some check dams, like in Rajasthan, I have an example that some corporate or some CSR activities develop some check dams in Rajasthan to store the water during the rainy seasons, and how those check dams are going to impact the people, whether there is some increase in the farm sector or the cattle sector, or some increase in the livelihood of the people, are those adoption of check dams are impacting the trajectory of the social system or not? That depends on the effectiveness of that particular policy. And then you have to decide the futuristic approach, whether you are going to continue that policy or not. If the effectiveness is there, if there is some increase in the livelihood of the people of that particular area with the support of the check dams, they are able to irrigate their farms, they are able to earn more on the basis of that irrigation with the increased acreage of their sowing. Then certainly the policy should be expanded, and there should be more and more check dams, and the expenditure incurred will be fruitful for the people, for the government, and for the farmers, and for the school going kids, because now they are getting the adequate fee and all support from their parents on the basis of increased income levels on the back of the support provided by the government. So all these policies depend upon the nature of their support from the government, and particularly the analysis. Like when you when you are going to analyze the policy environment, then you have some set objective also, that what are you going to analyze in the public domain. Then you have to collect some data to know about the outcome of that particular policy. Then you have to choose some method, that how you are going to assess that particular data, whether you are going to conduct some survey, or you are going to assess the secondary data only, and you are deriving some analysis on the you are going to regress some variables on this independent and dependent variables analysis, or you are going to analyze on the basis of some interviews or some interactions with the people. So all these things are discussed on the basis of nature of that particular problem, or that particular policy, or also in the particular business environment. So data can be quantitative or qualitative. That depends on your nature of your evaluation. And research methods also depend on your surveys, your statistical models, and your impact evaluation, how you are going to assess that particular thing in the public domain. Yeah, and there are various methods to assess the policies, like randomized trials, or you have to focus on whether you are you are choosing the random system that I will speak to some people, those who are sitting in that particular place or those who are residing in that particular place. I will speak to them and draw some conclusions that whether this policy is going to become effective or not. What is the actual impact of that particular, whether they are getting some benefit or not. So then again, there is a difference in differences. Like if we are going to assess some particular policy that I would say you can choose pre and post COVID. Like there are policies before COVID. For if we set the COVID year of 2020, then before COVID in 2018, 19, and after COVID in 21, 22, how these policies are becoming effective or providing different results, and what is the actual benefit. Like uh, if we are going to assess the inflation scenario. Government is providing so many support to the supply chain and so many reforms to the uh, farmers and to the supply chain systems to control the inflation. Then we can assess how these reforms are effective in the normal years and after, or in the abnormal years, in the COVID years, and after in the post-COVID years. What is the outcome of these policies during the different set of yeah, years? Then we have in the secondary data analysis, then you can provide the regression analysis, how this particular variable is going to impact the scenario of the other variables. Like if we are assessing that house prices are supported by the low interest rates, and also uh, house prices are supported by the increased demand. Okay, and one is saying that no, house prices are supported by the income level of the people. Then again, somebody says that house prices are depend on the tax reliefs provided by the government. So now you have to regress all these 4 5 variables on the house prices. Then what is the significant variable which is actually impacting the house prices, whether the income level is more significant, or the government incentives like the tax system is more significant to increase the houses prices. When the taxes are lower, then the people go for purchase the houses and prices go up. Or the demand, like the demand is occurring in the economy and the economy is in a great gung ho and the house prices are going up. So you have to identify the significance of that particular variable, that how this variable is impacting the house prices. So regression analysis provides you the significance of a particular variable on the target variable which is in discussion. So then we have propensity score matching. Like if you are providing some relief to some segment, like I would say in the coronavirus, there was vaccine, corona vaccine that is preventing from the COVID. Some set of population, they got the that dose, but other set of population, they are not getting that dose. So now you have to check the effectiveness of that particular injection, that how this is effective to stop the COVID, and whether this is without the that injection the people are surviving. So now you are assessing the two sets, and you are knowing about the probability that if this set is not getting any injection or any medicine to stop the COVID, then they are also resilient. You have to select some factors, some variables to know about that particular thing, that the income, that the age is same, their living standard, their living place, all these factors or the variable should be same. Then you can assess the effectiveness of that uh, particular instrument on some segment and as compared with the other. And the qualitative methods, you have to assess the case studies. Like there are many scenarios to know about the qualitative. That depends on the discussions also, or some interviews. like if I am going to assess the effectiveness of the current repo rate, the RBI has reduced the repo rate significantly by the 50 basis point. Now, how this 50 basis point reduction is going to impact the trajectory of the MSMEs? Because they have reduced recently in the last 1 month. So there is no secondary data available. That's how this is going to impact the uh, uh, MSMEs with the particular this 50 basis point reduction in the repo rate. So, but I want to know the impact of this reduction in the repo rate on the MSMEs. So I should discuss with some MSMEs that how this rate cut in rate is going to impact your business, whether this is fruitful for your business or not. If they are saying no, this is not enough, we need more because the repo rate is very high, so we need more relief in the repo rate reduction. Then I will interview some set of people from the different segments, like the MSMEs in the services, or MSMEs in the manufacturing, or MSMEs in the with the global exposure, like some MSMEs are exporter also, or MSMEs in the domestic scenario. So I will interview different people from the different segments, and try to know about the impact of that reduction in repo rate on the trajectory of the MSMEs. Then the all these are the field surveys, actually field observations. Then we can take the case studies, like if the RBI had reduced the repo rate by 50 basis point 5 years ago, then what was the actual impact, and how the leather industry in that scenario was supported by this such kind of significant reduction in the repo rate. Then we can took the case studies also to know about the actual impact, and to draw some inferences on the basis of that relief provided by the uh, institution or the government. So how to evaluate the PLI? Like the PLI scheme is very important for the government of India, for the industries, for the people, for the exporters, and the and for the employment seekers also. And government provided this scheme uh, on 1st April 2020, and guidelines were released on 1st June 2020, and then the scheme started working. The objective of the scheme was to provide a relief incentive on the increased production levels. Uh, like 4 to 6% was the relief provided on the incremental sales. Like if they are increasing their sales from a base year, year after year, then they will be getting the incentives from 4 to 6% on their production levels. And they provided this scheme for many sectors, but if we consider the mobile phones were considered in the device value of 15,000 and above, and for the domestic industries also, and for the foreign manufacturers also in India. And total expenditure outlay was 40,995 crore. That becomes 5.7 billion in the 5 years trajectory. So the production level were anticipated at 10.5 lakh crore. That becomes 141 billion in the 5 years. And the production was set over INR 9 lakh crore. That becomes at around 122 billion. And for the domestic companies, proposed production was 1.23 lakh crore, and that becomes 16 billion. So there were specified electronic components, and proposed production outlay was 15,700 crore. That becomes 2.1 billion. So export target was set that out of the total production, around 60% INR 6.5 lakh goods will be exported, and will contribute by the exporters in the next 5 years. So investment was anticipated at 11,000 crore. That is only 1.43 billion dollar. And employment was anticipated at 2 lakh, uh, over 2 lakh employment, that zero point 0.2 billion direct employment was anticipated. And domestic value addition was anticipated to grow from 15-20% to 35-40%. And these were the areas set by the government. And how these provided the great results with the advent of this PLI scheme, and results were more than anticipation. And because this industry contributed 1.10 lakh crore to the government exchequer, that becomes very strong, and produced goods worth rupees 12.55 lakh crore between 4 years of FY21 to FY 2024. And the government disbursed 5,800 crore in incentives. Incentives are only 5,800 crores, according to the industry body Electronics Association. So tremendous increase in the production levels, in the export levels, and in the production levels. So this scheme was very fruitful. And this PLI scheme has promoted the domestic industry and achieved 60% import substitution, like telecom products, and not only the mobile phones, but the whole telecom industry is supported by the this PLI. And again, the 1.61 lakh crore of investment till 2024. So this is a huge amount that we have attracted in the investment scenario. And again, all the figures are very promising, that and significantly higher than the anticipation in the PLI scheme notification that we discussed, the targets of the uh, government. And if we assess the Make in India, another case, like government provided the Make in India scheme in 2014. So something is written wrong. So that was 2014, not 2024. Yeah, Make in India is a great revolutionary reform in the history of Indian economy, that provides support to the manufacturers, that and the foreign investors also, that they should come to India and manufacture from here and export to the other markets. So that is the philosophy behind the Make in India, that we have to create the employment for our growing young population. We have to support our manufacturing. We have great manufacturing sectors like the defense manufacturing, food processing, telecommunications, and the pharmaceuticals, civil aviation. We are manufacturing goods in each and every segment of the economy. We are becoming robust in the defense manufacturing also. So, Make in India scheme was provided to support all the manufacturing processes and to enhance the ease of doing business for the manufacturers in India, particularly for the MSMEs. They reduced the compliances for the MSMEs and supported the trajectory of ease of doing business. And we also improved significantly from in the ease of doing business segment also. Earlier, we were at 142 in the global World Bank ranking, and with the support of the Make in India and ease of doing business, we improved to the level of 63 in 2020. So that was the effect of Make in India and ease of doing business to become robust in the global growth trajectory. But our goal was to become 25% manufacturing share in GDP. That has not happened. We are still 16 to 17% of our GDP in the manufacturing processes, way behind our target of 25%. That becomes 1 trillion of our $4 trillion economy. But still, we are 16% of our GDP in the manufacturing. Why this has happened? Why the scheme was not providing the anticipated results? Because of the if you go by the assessment numbers, like after the advent of the Make in India scheme in 2014, uh, there was trade war between US and China in 2017-18, and that caused a slowdown in many economies. Thereafter, we were hit by the coronavirus in 2020, and before we recovered from corona, uh, again the geopolitical development started in 2022, from Russia, Ukraine to Israel, Gaza, Israel, Iran, Israel. Now, last 4 years are impacted by the uh, uh, deepening geopolitical developments. So last 5 6 years in totality, starting from 17 18 to now 2024, around 8 years are impacted by such kind of global headwinds. So that's why uh, still we are lagging behind for the actual benefits of Make in India to our manufacturing or to our supply chains or to our people or to our growing young population to provide them the adequate resources or the employment in the manufacturing sector. But still, we are progressing and we are becoming robust in the global exports trajectory. We are making new highs every year, starting from 21-22, from the $695 billion exports in 21-22, thereafter $776 billion, thereafter $778 billion in 23-24, and in last year $824 billion. We are making new highs in the exports, and we have attracted a total 1 trillion FDI during the last 25 years. Particularly during the last 6 7 years, we have attracted more than 500 billion. So that is the great trajectory of the attractiveness of investments from the global investors, and to become more and more resilient in the global market, particularly in the export segment. And also, our goal is to become $100 billion FDI destination every year. That is going to happen in the coming times, as still there are global headwinds. There are tussles in the in many countries at the global level, which are impacting the growth scenario of the many economies, and the global economy is slowing down and impacting the investment scenarios of many countries. But still, we are resilient despite so many headwinds. We are growing in a good number, starting from 9.7% to more than 7% in the 22-23, then more than 8% 23-24, and last year we grew at 6.5% despite the Red Sea and many headwinds in the geopolitics, and from the high cost of raw materials because of the inflation trajectory. And we remain resilient despite so many um, uh, problems caused by the global economy during the last 7 8 years. So, public policy going forward, what should be the public policy going forward, as we have a target to become developed economy by 2047? And according to the estimates by the Niti Aayog, India will be USD $30 trillion economy by 2047. Then how to achieve this goal? That depends on the effectiveness of the public policy environment in the coming times. And we have to focus on the radical changes from the government, and structural changes at the institutions level, because the world economy is not an easy task. We have to move forward with more and more uh, uh, hard work, and more and more focus on the outcomes, not only at the macro level but also at the micro level. We have to support the downtrodden. We have to support the employment. We have to support uh, the rural segments. We have to support the MSMEs. Like if the MSMEs are going to become strong, then they will support the trajectory of the developed economy by 2047. So, demographic dividend, we have great demographic dividend, but we have to support our demographic dividend with the employment creation. We should focus more on the employment creating policies which are becoming robust for the rural youth or the rural people and the rural enterprises, to support them and to become part of the great growth story of the Indian economy. So at this juncture, the question becomes that what policies do we need to secure a future ready India? What should be the policy environment from the government side that supports uh, Gyan, as government has focused Gyan in the last two budgets significantly. Green, Garib, Yuva, and Nari and farmers. So all these four segments should become more and more resilient and supported by the policy environment. So if we focus on the last 75 years, how the reforms or public policies supported the trajectory of Indian economy. We started from Green Revolution, then the economic reforms of 1991, and the recent reforms of like the Aadhaar and UPI and Digital India, artificial intelligence, all these things we achieved during the last 75 years. But challenges remain. The inequality and uniformity in the workforce and regional disparities. Though these are reducing in the recent years, but still we face many challenges to move forward and to make them uniform for each and every segment of the society in the Indian economy. And again, we have to provide the inclusive education and inclusive health system to the masses. On the physical infrastructure side, our anticipation is that there must be a dispensary or a hospital in the radius of 1 kilometer where there is population, and in the radius of 5 kilometers where there is population, and there should be a good hospital to if our goal is to become world economy by 2047. So we have to focus on the education and health and public support to the such kind of uh, basic infrastructure for the education and the health system. Then we have to focus on the green economy. Sorry, like we are focusing on the green hydrogen, and government has provided a green hydrogen mission in 2022 to promote the economy at the global level in the green hydrogen and to fulfill the global demand also. But the challenge is to reduce the cost of green hydrogen, and the government is very focused to support the industry to reduce the cost of production of the green hydrogen so that we are becoming more and more green in the coming times. Then the MSMEs, as there must be a support to the MSMEs, and as MSMEs still face the high cost of production, like they are impacted by the high cost of finances, high cost of the compliances, high cost of the power, high cost of logistics, high cost of the availability of land. Though these costs are coming down during the recent years with the more and more focus on the MSME reform starting from 2019-20, when Corona hit the whole economy, the government provided a great support to the MSME segment, and but still we have to go a long way to develop the MSMEs to make them more resilient in the today's environment. So MSMEs should also be supported with the more and more supported. Again, we have challenge of the climate resilient India as we are going to become net zero by 2070. So we have to adopt the green reforms, and we have to focus on the recycling and uh, uh, the with the support of the various reforms from the government, and because uh, wastage system or the production levels should also repeat to support the economy, as the recycling level is still lagging behind at the global level, and India is moving ahead to support the recycling that will support our net zero target by 2070. So for the downtrodden, for the many segments of the economy, we have direct benefit transfers, and those should be facilitated. And again, the reforms for the bureaucracy, for the civil services, for the fiscal federalism and intergovernment cooperation. As we are significantly focusing on the our fiscal scenarios and debt to GDP ratio, we have to provide support uh, to the bureaucratic reforms also in the coming times, that the uh, that the governance level becomes more and more strong in the coming times. So uh, we have a great trajectory going forward uh, uh, to become Viksit Bharat by 2047, and for that target we need ambition, inclusion, sustainability, and we are already adopting the digital economy and we are adopting the artificial intelligence. And now the digital economy is more than 20% of GDP. Digital economy itself has surpassed the share of manufacturing in GDP and share of agriculture in GDP. Now, this digital scenario is becoming more and more robust to support the inclusion in the country, that reaches at the remote areas and the faraway areas to provide the direct benefit transfers to the many needy segments. So, with the people, not just for the people, we have to come forward with the reforms uh, with the support of the people and to make India more and more resilient. And call for action is be the architects of India's policy future, and that should come from our growing young population. That they are the architectures of our policy environment, and they should write the growth story of Indian economy at the rate of 100, at the rate of 2047. So thank you very much. Now I am open for questions from your side.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma, for the very insightful session. Learners, it's time to move to the polls. Remember, everyone who answers all questions correctly will receive a certificate that you can proudly share on various platforms. You're now requested to answer the poll on your screen and respond based on your comprehension of the session. Please note that to answer each question, you will have only 1 minute. Thank you, everyone. We will now begin with the Q&A session. So the first question is, what will be the impact of zero tariffs with US considering the huge export data with US on our economy?
Yes, that is very important question because US is our great trade partner, largest trade partner, and the volume is at around $200 billion, of which at around $140 billion is the merchandise and the rest is the services. So, and not only the total volume of value of exports or imports at $200 billion, but US is our largest export destination. Our around 16 to 17% exports are towards US in the merchandise segment. So if we are entering in an agreement of zero tariffs, that we will be in a win-win situation, we will increase our trajectory of export significantly because there is a great complementarity between India and US demand and supply, as that is evident from our uh, historical development of the uh, becoming largest trade partner with the US during the last 4 or 5 years after the US China trade war. Earlier, China was our largest trade partner. So going forward, if the plausible developments are there and they are agreeing on the low tariff rates, not only zero, but if the tariff rate becomes at the rational level or uh, somewhere between 0 to 5%, that will also work for the enhanced trajectory of the bilateral trade between the two significant economies. One is the largest economy, and second is the fastest moving economy.
Perfect. Moving to the next question. With more tighter integration with global economics, we experience more economic shocks that the world economic faces. How can we hedge a business against global shocks while reaping benefits of globalization?
Yes, again, a very good question because we can't escape from the global integratedness because now the economies are not in the isolation after the advent of 1991 reforms or the LPG reforms. We are significantly connected with the global economy. So that is the effect of our openness because earlier we were closed economy and it took around 40 years to double real income in India from 1951 to 1991. 100 rupees were converted into 200 rupees in 40 years. Now your real income doubles every 17 years and your nominal income doubles every 10 years. So that is the effect of the globalization or the integratedness with the global economy. So we should focus on the resilience of the economy at the domestic level that we have already focused significantly during the last many years, starting from our Make in India program, thereafter the reforms of the ease of doing business. So the effect of those reforms is very much visible as we are growing significantly as compared with many economies in the world economic system. Our growth rate, if you go by the numbers, during the last 4 financial years, starting from 21-22, 22-23, 23-24, 24-25, your average growth rate is more than 7.5%. You can calculate. That is given in my slide number 2 or 3. Uh, Significantly higher than China, significantly higher than any emerging economy, and significantly higher than the top 10 economies. That explains our level of resilience. That despite so many headwinds, despite so many global integratedness levels, our exports are making new highs every year, and our growth trajectory, our GDP, is more growing more than 7.5% on an average during the last 4 financial years.
Thank you, sir. So that's all the time we have for today. We tried to cover as many questions as we could. Learners, before you leave, please provide us with feedback on this webinar by completing a survey as you exit this session. A recording of this webinar will also be made available on LMS if you wish to view it again. Thank you once again, Dr. Sharma, for this invaluable session. I'm
Thank
sure
you.
I'm sure our participants have learned something new today that's informative and useful. And a big thank you to all our learners. It's been great to see the level of participation. Thank you and have a good evening.